right, people, here we go. Let's do this. Kick back, relax.
Hello everyone, we are gonna have now for the live of The Neighbor, the feature film, we're gonna have Jessica Koloian, we're gonna have Dave Payton, and we're gonna have George A. Johnson. And hello everyone, how are you guys?
Good,
Hello.
how are you? Hello?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Cool. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be with us to celebrate the Paris Art and Movie Awards and to promote the film you made, Thy Neighbor. So the movie is selected in competition for Best Feature Film, Best Lead Actor, Dave, and Best Trailer, which is a new category to support the marketing efforts that every filmmaker is making to promote his film. So I have many questions to ask you guys, but first, and we're going to start with Jessica. Let us know a little bit about who you are and your background, and quickly, okay, not the big biography. Just let us know who you are and your what led you here.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. It's so wonderful to be with you all. We so appreciate your support for our film, Thy Neighbor. I started acting in theater and transitioned into film, and recently into my, shortly after starting indie films, I met George on set of another indie film. And that's kind of how I was led to the project of Thy Neighbor, which was an amazing opportunity. He asked me to audition for a comedy and then wound up throwing the script at me and asking me if I was up for it.
Okay, we're going to go back to that.
Okay.
George, what about you?
Yeah, I actually kind of was born with a camera in my hand. You know, I was writing scripts when I was 5, 6 years old, bought a little 8mm film camera when I at a garage sale when I was 8. I couldn't afford film, but I just wind it up and make it buzz and shoot little fake movies with my brother. We couldn't record anything. And then, you know, finally saved up, got an actual video camera, started shooting films, and it's just been nonstop ever since. You know, just always a passion for telling stories that I haven't seen anywhere else before. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I like it. Dave, what about you? What's your background?
Well, like Jessica, I started out in theater. I believe I did theater starting in the 4th grade. I made my film debut in 1999, and I had the big role of airplane passenger number 402 in the Harrison Ford movie called Random Hearts. And my pivotal moment is I walked past Harrison to go to the men's room, and that was my big story. My big claim to fame. And he stepped on my foot at one point. So
wow, so you got a lot to tell about Harrison.
Yes, we're BFFs now, and I live in his basement actually.
Makes sense. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So
nice house, Jessica. I love what you've done with the place.
You don't have a mirror in your back, so I guess we're safe for now. George, Jessica said that you wanted to, you gave her a script for a comedy, and then you ended up making Thy Neighbor with her. What was that kind of scary approach? I mean,
yeah. I figured the script for Thy Neighbor might be a bad introduction. So,
okay.
no, I was actually working on this really cute little family comedy. And I'd written Thy Neighbor several years before, and it was kind of sitting on the shelf, and I was working on this other project. So I felt like, we were kind of getting a little ways down the road on that other project. And then I just realized I had to make Thy Neighbor. I went through and read the script again, and it was one of those things where I worked on the script for, I think, 8 or 9 years. And just every pass, I'm like, how can I make this guy a worse human being than the last draft? And so I had a lot of time to create Dave. And it got to the point where I was like, I got to move on this one. So she had auditioned so well for this comedy. I was like, have you ever thought about doing something a little edgy, creepy thriller? And she's like, well, yeah, what do you have? So I sent it to her, and she killed that one. So I was like, all right, we're good to go.
It's funny because sometimes as filmmakers and directors, we think that actors might be afraid or pushed away from challenging scripts. Most of the time they're not. They just want to jump in because actors are looking, and performers are looking for performances to do and to show their skills. So how did you react, Jessica, when George offered you the script of Thy Neighbor?
Oh, I loved it right away. I thought it was definitely the best script I'd ever read. I was so excited to have the opportunity to audition for Amber, and I really fell in love with her journey and her complexities and some of the stuff she battled with and struggled with. I felt like I could really empathize with her. So I was really excited for the opportunity to jump into her skin and play around.
So you already, first time you read the script, you find some connections already with the character. Absolutely. And how did you think that was going to go on set? Because there's a belief that when we make creepy movies, the set is going to be creepy. Most of the time it's not. And I saw a couple of videos on YouTube, and it looked like the set was not creepy at all, on the opposite.
Yeah, the set was absolutely wonderful. I will say that there was one scene that I was absolutely terrified for. And George was so kind. Everyone was so kind. And
Which one?
You're like,
which one?
When the neighbor is knocking on our front door after I bring Alex home.
Okay, after the cookies.
No,
later than that.
Closer to the end.
Towards the end.
When you get back the kid. When you get the kid back.
Yes. And I push him into the bathroom.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, makes sense. So what was kind of frightening you about this? The intensity, the action itself?
So Dave was method acting on set. I'll let him talk about that more later. So I was actually pretty terrified of him in general.
We all were.
Yeah. I killed it. So being in a scene like that with him, like I just let myself, as Amber, I let myself go to all those scary places. I really wanted to feel it inside of me, and I did. But I was really shaking and really scared, and they were like, "It's okay. We're all here. Everything's gonna be okay." And it was.
It's a movie. It's a movie.
Yeah.
He's not gonna.
Not real. And so I bounced back from that with relatively little damage.
It took about 9 or 10 takes to get that scene where she's walking to the door with the knife behind her back.
Yeah.
Because the knife was shaking like this. And I'm like, that's too much shaking. But you gotta don't. She's like, I can't stop shaking the knife. And then
it's the details sometimes that you want.
I could tell she was so scared, and I kind of wanted to get a real reaction out of her. I said, on this take, don't worry, he's not gonna push the door open. We're just gonna run you up to the door, and then we'll cut it. And she's like, okay. So she's approaching the door and all that, and then I just let it go until he pops the door on her. We got a nice little reaction out of her with that.
Okay, oh my God. Dave, what about you? So you are a method actor on set. So that means these guys spent weeks with Thy Neighbor with them.
Yeah. Dave Payton never showed up to the set.
my God.
I left him in Wisconsin.
You left him in Wisconsin, and you were on set as the guy who was creeping everybody out.
Yeah, I wanted to stay in character the entire time because I wanted it to be really good, and I think it would have been difficult for me to jump in and out between Neighbor and Dave every other 5 minutes. And I wanted to do my best, and I wanted to do justice to the show and to Jessica and Nathan as well. And I wanted it to be as real as possible. You know, they always say don't act, you be. And yeah. And so I was. And I remember that scene. We did it, 8 or 9 times, and I think on the 3rd or 4th take, Jessica caught my knee in the door, and that hurt a lot. And then George ordered 4 more takes. So but yeah, I mean that was I don't know. There might have been our 3rd or 4th scene together that we filmed, but it was pretty early on in the process. I know that.
Okay, pretty early on the schedule.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit, George? How many weeks to shoot that film?
If I remember right, I think it was about 23 days.
23, which is it's kind of the average now for independent films that size.
Yeah.
That budget and the story you want to tell. 24. That's what I got from the distribution companies we are discussing with is usually between 19 and 29. But nowadays, when you get 29 days, you're just very happy because it's a lot.
Yeah.
So you had 24. Did you get everything you wanted?
I believe we did. There were a couple of things. Maybe the one thing I kind of envisioned with. I don't want to spoil the movie. Has it run already?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No, it's running tomorrow.
The incident in the church at the end.
Okay, the incident, yeah.
There are a couple of minor tweaks that I would have made to that. I had envisioned a couple of things, and then also in the original script, the son Alex had a pet, a little puppy.
Okay.
And the puppy didn't like the neighbor. Like from day one, the puppy was growling and snapping at the neighbor whenever he came around, and the puppy didn't end up making it. And we kind of decided that was maybe a little too intense. so we pulled the puppy. But at times I wish maybe we had let Dave be the full horrible human being that he was supposed to be. But yeah,
it's
in the interest of people sleeping at night, we had to pull that part.
How would you Dave, would you have wanted to go further in the creepiness and in the horror, psychological horror of it?
As far as the scenes that were shot, I think it went well the way it went. George did do a haircut before we actually filmed. So when I got the script, he offered me the role and then he sent me the script. So I had a couple of days to read it. And in the script that I received, there were a couple of scenes that really intrigued me that didn't make the final cut. There was the dog, as George mentioned. And then there was another scene with me and the pastor walking around in the woods on a bridge. And that was a pretty intense scene that we didn't end up shooting it. But I think, for time purposes, things got cut. I mean, the whole script was phenomenal. It was just so well written, and that's what drew me to the project. But in the haircut process, George ended up cutting a couple of scenes that I felt were super, super strong. But we didn't, maybe next time. But there was a scene on the bridge that was really neat too.
Yeah.
It's always a matter of choice. You have to make the movie fit into the correct length and size and duration, so you get the pace. So what about these kind of choices you had to make, George? Cutting some scenes, not shooting some scenes that were on the script. How do you make these kind of choices?
Well, the puppy one, I just felt like it might be too much to,
Yeah, like you said.
Have him kill a puppy. And then the bridge, I fully wanted to shoot that scene, but it kind of involved him having a fake seizure, and
Okay.
while the pastor was trying to help him, he actually knocked him over the edge of the bridge, and he was kind of dangling from the bridge, and then he started kicking at his face while he's trying to get up, and it was like this real peril moment, and it just we didn't we didn't have the budget or the facilities to shoot it right
Okay.
and safely. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
we didn't want to risk anybody actually falling off a bridge, so we had to make that tweak.
Okay. Jessica, was it your first psychological movie, that type you made?
Yes.
Yeah, first thriller, first experience in the genre, on the dark side.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you have? I guess you had some expectations, some ideas of it. Did these ideas meet some reality, or what was different from what you expected?
I did expect the on-set experience to be a lot more intense and scary, and the fact that I walked away with just the one really terrifying scene
Yeah.
that we filmed, I think that was it was really cool that George was able to create an environment that was so fun, and we could relax and have a good time and know that, like, when George says cut, like, we're gonna laugh, everything's gonna be okay. And then it allows you to just go to some of those darker places and to know, like, hey, in a few minutes everything's gonna be okay, Jessica's gonna be here again, and she'll get to take a deep breath and kind of relax.
Yeah, makes sense, makes total sense. George, how would you pitch the movie to the people who may want to watch it tomorrow? How would you present it?
Wow. You've never seen this movie before. It's something completely unique, and it will definitely cause you to think about a lot of things, and maybe even look inward at how you could maybe be a better person as well.
And watch out for the neighbors around you, because you never know who's next door.
Seriously.
As I understand it, for like a couple years after that, Jessica would never talk to her neighbors anymore, and she'd like
Really?
get out of her car and run straight into her house. That's right?
I am still pretty committed to that. I don't trust anybody now.
You know, you never know.
Sorry,
Sometimes reality meets fiction, so you have to be careful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do, we're gonna watch the trailer of the film, so the viewers can have a better understanding of how to feel of the movie, and then we're gonna go back with some more questions.
Hey, what are we going to do about getting the neighbor into a service?
Why is it so important to you?
I'm a pastor, and it's a pastor's job to get people into church.
You were a pretty angry man. Do you still wrestle with it just once in a while?
He's reminding me of old Zach, and it scares me.
I don't think it's a good idea for you or Alex to go over there when I'm not around, okay?
I don't see Alex. He was just here.
Don't go to anyone's house without me.
I love you.
I like the stories of Jesus. They said he loved me. But his people didn't.
Okay, that's the kind of trailer that makes you want to watch the film. That's for sure.
I have goosebumps all over still.
What's that?
George,
Yeah.
do you, after we just watched this trailer, I have one question and I don't know what you're going to answer, okay? Would you describe Thy Neighbor as a Christian movie?
That's a great question. That was the original goal. And I would say yes, but not like any Christian movie you've seen before. So if you're a fan of a lot of the real popular Christian movies, this might come as a shock to you.
Yeah,
But I
it's
guess,
way darker.
yeah,
We can say that.
it's more, I guess it's more of just, it's a really gritty, realistic thriller about a situation that Christians go through. You know, there are a lot of pastors go through things like this, and so it's just kind of a look at some of the difficulties in life that you don't get to see very often.
Yeah, let me just explain for the French audience. There is in America, there is a whole genre that does not exist anywhere else. That's the faith movies. Movies about overcoming the odds, helping each other, about family values at the core of the scripts. In some way, Christmas movies are kind of could be a good representation of that, but not only Christmas movies. And this genre does not exist in France, and I don't know if it exists in the rest of Europe, but I can tell because I've seen some of them. If you watch Channel 6, for example, some Sunday afternoons at Christmas time, this is a type of movies in France that you see at that moment, are some of them Christian movies. So they are usually movies about be good, be better, help each other, all the basic principles of Christianity. And your film echoes all that. But I've never seen a film that makes Christian movies meet with a thriller like that. Usually it's a thriller and that's it. But yours really echoes that. So why did you choose to make this? Is it because of your personal beliefs? Is it because you wanted to make a film that was kind of a crossover?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I guess I've made some of the Christian films like you're referring to that are a little more sweet and tender and family friendly.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, whatever you're into, if you're into sports or whatever, you want to share your favorite sports team with your friend because you're passionate about it, right? Well, I happen to be a believer, and so for me, I enjoy sharing my faith with people in a way that they can understand and relate to. And I kind of got to a point where I felt like the movies I was making were only appealing to people that already were living a happy Christian life, you know what I'm saying? And so I felt like I wanted to make a story that would just appeal to anybody that likes thrillers and maybe wouldn't normally watch one of my other movies, but still have some of those elements of just hope and, you know, life that I like to put into my films. So yeah, it basically, the goal was to create sort of a crossover film there.
Dave, I'm not sure about that, so just tell me if I'm correct or not. I read somewhere you've been a minister or not?
No, I've never been a minister. I was a missionary for 2 years, but not a pastor. Yeah, I toured the country with a Christian acting company called the Covenant Players, and the Covenant Players, they perform all over the world in churches and schools and nursing homes and prisons. I've been to jail several times, and we do faith-based plays, you know, during the church service, and I did that for 2 years at a college. So that I was a missionary for 2 years.
Did you feel when reading the script? Did you feel the echo regarding faith and everything?
Yeah, I felt it was a strong faith-based message, and what drew me to the project was that it was completely different. You know, like George said, it was a crossover film, and you know, the Bible says to be all things to all people, and if you're just filming, you know, regular Christian movies, you're preaching to the choir, and this project was not preaching to the choir, and that's one of the strongest reasons why I wanted to do this film so badly.
Was it challenging to be a believer and to play in the film the bad guy that goes against all that?
Well, he's not the bad guy. No, that's up for interpretation. No,
That's absolute. To play,
no.
to leave the people, to leave the audience an option to understand that he might be on the wrong side of the story.
Yeah. Well, for one, I believe, and I think most actors would agree, that it's always more fun to be the bad guy,
Yeah.
because that's not who you are in real life. And before Thy Neighbor, most of my offers were kind of the sidekick and the comic relief and maybe the nerdy guy. And Thy Neighbor was completely different. I went from Robin to Joker, and
Yeah.
I
That must
really
have been-
appreciated that.
Yeah, must have been kind of exciting to play with that material.
Yeah.
Jessica, I'm gonna say it. You are maybe the lead actress of the film. You are the character that has the most scenes, the most screen time. Did you feel some kind of pressure to be on screen that much for a lead role?
I didn't. Until I
Cool.
was watching it back, I didn't even realize that. I
Okay.
really thought the story was following, and maybe this had to do with the scenes that were cut. I really thought the story was really following Pastor Zach and his journey. And then when I saw the finished thing, I was like, oh my, wow, this is Amber. This is her journey.
This is Amber.
This
Yeah.
is what she's going
I
through
agree.
with the different characters. And it kind of snuck up on me.
And I like that because when I started watching the movie the first time, I believed, and also based on the trailer and the marketing around it, I believed that was going to be the story of a couple, the pastor and Amber. And the movie starts like that, but very quickly the triangle shifts and it becomes the story of Thy Neighbor and Amber. And the pastor kind of at some point even disappears before coming back. We talk about him. We hear about him and what he's doing outside of the story, and then he comes back. So was that part of the script, George? That kind of triangle that shifts to reveal another relationship?
Well, they say that a script is never finished until the DVD is burned.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
in the original script, it was Pastor Zach's story. And then on set, the way scenes went, the way things unfolded, and then you get into post, and certain decisions have to be made. And it's sort of, my goal was for this to be a story about Pastor Zach and his conflict with the neighbor, and the story disagreed with me, and it just went in that direction, and I didn't fight it. I just let the story become what it was meant to be. And the way it came out was just beyond what I had originally imagined.
Cool. That's always interesting. I had a talk this morning with a French crew, and the guy told me they say that you write the movie 3 times: when you write it, when you shoot it, and when you edit it. And that's so true. I mean, as a filmmaker myself, I relate to what you say very strongly, because none of the movies I directed ended up telling the story that was on the script.
Yep.
And that's very humbling, because you believe you are some kind of a mastermind and you're going to make that film. But no, you said it in a very interesting way. The story disagreed. The script is here, and then you have the actors and the actress and the story taking live, and they take control. And sometimes you see things happening on set and you say, okay, this is what it is, and I have to follow that because that's better than what I wrote, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
Dave, do you remember what was the first scene you shot on set for Thy Neighbor?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Which
it was
one
a
was
scene
that?
where it was a scene where I was on the ladder and Pastor Zach was talking to me.
Okay,
It was a terrible
so
scene.
quite the beginning of the film. So
It's toward the beginning of the film.
you had a slow start to get into the character, even if you were on character all the time.
Well, I was still the character, but I have anxieties with heights. I don't fly, and I hate ladders. I take the Greyhound and the Amtrak bus all over the place. And so the first scene was on a huge ladder, and Yeah, I was terrified. I did a terrible performance. I thought I was going to get fired after that shot. And yeah, it sucked. It was terrible. I wanted to redo it, but I wanted to, instead of being on the ladder, I wanted to rewrite the scene where Neighbor's under his car fixing brakes. And instead of
And
being
George
on
said
the
no.
ladder, oh, I never pitched it to George because I didn't want to, you know, I didn't
Didn't
want
want
to
to change
ruffle
everything on the first
feathers.
day.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a diva and demand my own car and a bag of Skittles, but I would have liked to reshoot that scene. Yeah, I'm still open to reshooting it if Nathan wants to do it again.
The question
Just have me
is,
lay on the ground fixing a car.
are the DVDs
I'm
burned?
in. If you want exactly, yes. If you want to reshoot it for a special edition, we can do it. But we're going to shoot it as scripted, where you're sitting on the roof. We're going to get you all the way up.
No. I could barely go up the ladder. I think one of the crew members held the ladder as I was up there, and I was still terrified. My knees were shaking. Mentally, I felt like I was falling the entire hour. It was super difficult to do that scene.
We had two grips on holding the ladder. Camera was set, audio rolling, and then it was like action, and they ran out of the scene, and then he did his scene really quickly, and then he'd get back and hold the ladder again. That was a rough day.
So, after that, everything seemed easy, I guess.
Yeah, then after that we had lunch, and then we did the hot tub scene, and everything was great.
Oh my, okay. So George, first you torture the actors, and then you get them on the pool all together just to relax. That's
I'm a terrible person.
Interesting. I mean,
he has it down to a science.
Yeah, I guess he has. It's what I loved about the movie was the way it never stops going up and up and up and up on the creepiness and the relationship between the pastor and thy neighbor, and then the neighbor and Jessica and the character and Jessica's character. How do you manage? Because I know that's very challenging. Whether you're making a comedy or a thriller or a horror film or drama, just keeping the continuity. And how do you direct the actors to give just the right amount of tension, the right amount of that little spark, that thing that's going to make the scene creepy? How do you dose that, and how do you work with them to create the scenes?
That's an excellent question. My approach to that, and everyone's different. I do most of my work in pre-production. So my solution to that is finding the right actors. And once I've got the right actors who get it, understand the story, have the talent, the ability to pull it off, then I try to make minor tweaks and kind of, bumper pool them and keep them in the lane. But for the most part, I let them go, and I let them just really experience the scene. If it gets a little, too carried away, I might dial them back. If I need to push them a little bit, I'll do that too. But for the most part, I let the actors act.
Okay, yeah. Jessica, what was, based on what George just said, were you allowed to improvise at some point, or what was the level of freedom you may have had shooting the scenes?
I would say the level of freedom was really high. I never felt the need to deviate from the script, but I would touch base with George on different character choices that I wasn't sure if they were, if I was interpreting the way he had intended them. So,
for example,
the character Evie, once she got to set and we started doing those scenes, I was like, hey, George, Amber doesn't like Evie. Like, I don't think she likes her. And he was like, play it that way. Go for it.
Play it that way. Go for it.
Yeah, go for it. And I was like, okay, I will. And I felt so trusted with Amber and with her relationships when he said that. And it was just time after time that kept happening. And nothing builds trust between a director and actor more than when you're really able to run with the character in that way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dave, for you regarding your character, it's kind of crazy because the character could have been another crazy neighbor, another just creepy man, but all along the film, let's say 90% of the film, he's smart, articulate, he wants to socialize, he's creepy as hell, but you, even as an audience member, you kind of root for him. Like, he's really
I was rooting for him too.
Yeah. How do you? I hope you did, because as an actor, you just want to find a way to make it, I guess, human and everything. But
yeah,
how do you manage that as an actor? Because you had to play with your image, you had to play with the way you speak, you had to play with the way you move. So that must have been very interesting for you to create that.
Yeah, before we even auditioned, I read the character descriptions, and that's what started the whole process. In the character descriptions before the auditions, George wrote that he's kind of not, I don't, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact wording, but he says he's not really a nice guy around the pastor, but around the wife, Amber, he's a different person. And that's how I interpreted the character, as two people living in one body. And my scenes with Zach were very different from my scenes with Amber. My scenes with Zach, I was more antagonistic, more devious. Whereas my scenes with Amber, the neighbor talks about missing his Sunday school teacher. And I interpreted Amber as the Sunday school teacher that I missed and I had a crush on. And it was more like I played my scenes with Amber as like a little boy with a school teacher crush. And my scenes with Zach were more, I'm going to take you down. And so it all started from the character description way before the audition.
Okay, it's very interesting. I like it. Let's talk a little bit about, George, that's going to be for you, the importance of marketing, the importance of a pitch, a concept, a good trailer. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong once again. In the beginning, it was a different title, was it? Was it
no. What's that?
Was it Welcome to the Neighborhood at some point?
Oh, no. No, it was called Thy Neighbor, but in the first trailer, it just said Welcome to the Neighborhood.
Okay.
It just kind of as a tagline for Thy Neighbor. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you, because the good thing about Thy Neighbor on the marketing side is just by the poster, just by the trailer, just by the title, and the fact that it's a thriller, you understand what you're going to see. How do you, as a director, how far away do you work on that? And are you involved in all this conceptions and details that are going to make the movie meet an audience at some point?
Yeah, actually very closely. I created all of it. The poster, the trailer. Yeah. Not because I just feel like I have to do everything, but just because maybe that's part of it. I have a vision for it, and I have a certain way that I want it to turn out, and and then budget restraints too, of course. You've only got so much money to work with, and there have been a few times in the past where I've hired somebody to create marketing materials, and no offense to anybody who's done that, but maybe I'm not that great at communicating what I want to somebody else, but for some reason it's just never really quite hit what I was looking for. So I've just kind of had to develop those things myself just to kind of give it the edge that I'm looking for.
You have your own production company, right?
Yes.
So you produced the movie yourself?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Wrote, direct, produced, and edited.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how do you budget a movie, and how did you make this one possible?
Yeah. Well, not a lot of people lining up to fund a Christian thriller.
No, not at all, I guess.
So it was it was one of those things where I had just left a job, and we had just sold our house at the same time, and
Okay.
we kind of were deciding, okay, we were living in Indiana, but I'm originally from Michigan, and my wife and family, we always thought we'd move back to Michigan. So it was like this time in our lives where we didn't have a job and didn't have a house. So it's like this could be the time where we go to Michigan and start over and, you know, build our life there with our family. And then we just started thinking maybe this would be a good opportunity to make Thy Neighbor. And so it's just, my wife is incredible. She didn't even think twice. She's just like, take the money from the house and make the movie. And
Oh my God.
yeah, and so the money from the house and like a year or two's wages from running the production company, we threw it all in there. We, you know, put everything we had into it, literally, and ended up living in this tiny little apartment, actually neighbor's house. We were renting that as that's where we were living, our family. We had to get out of there after the movie. Too creepy to live there, but but yeah, so we lived in this little tiny apartment for like 3 years because of that decision to spend everything on making this film. So it was definitely a passion project and a major. We literally sacrificed everything. Yeah,
you took all the risks. That's brave. Really, that's brave. It's but sometimes you have to do it.
Yeah.
I hope you recouped. Did you get that money back with selling the movie and distributing the movie?
Not yet. Unfortunately, we've tried to do some distributing into the faith market, and everybody at the top seems to really like it, but they're afraid it's going to scare all the moms and grandmas that come in to buy Christian movies.
The subscribers.
So now, and my vision from the beginning was this isn't for the Bible and gift store. This is for HBO, Netflix, and so we've reached out and tried, you know, more the mainstream, and it's performing a lot better, you know, on Tubi and some of those ways, Amazon. So it's starting to get some traction now that we've shifted away from trying to market to the faith-based audience, and now just marketing
for the mainstream platforms and everything. Because the movie was shot in 2015, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So did you get a theatrical release at some point?
No, we were in a lot of film festivals. I think we were in about 14 countries, and we screened in a lot of theaters that way. And then we did some limited theatrical in Michigan and Indiana. But other than that, no, it hasn't had a theatrical release.
Okay, so you shot in 2015. You've been to a lot of festivals, and now you are celebrating with us the 10 years of the Paris Art and Movie Awards. I'm curious.
I think all three of us wanted to come to your festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Never been to Paris.
Never been to Paris? Really?
No.
Okay, Jessica, have you been
It's
to
on the
Paris
bucket
yet?
list.
I have.
You have? Okay, George, have you been to Paris?
Briefly, yep.
Briefly. Okay, so next time you're gonna take the friendly neighbor with you and bring him to the city of love. You never know what's gonna happen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Why?
Very nice.
Why are you still, George, running film festivals today? Because it's been a while now. It's been like 5 years since you shot the film. Usually, you run film festivals for 1-2 years. The films I had, we run film festivals for 1.5 years, for example. So why are you still doing it? I'm interested in that.
We shot in 2015, but it took 2 years to edit, and it wasn't actually released until 2018.
Okay, makes sense.
And even then, it wasn't officially released until October of 2019. So it's only been like released on Tubi and Amazon and everything for, 7-8 months or whatever. No, I guess it's almost a year. Yeah.
Yeah. No, makes sense. So yes, that's because it's an independent film. You need to take the time for the post-production to make the movie look good and to and before you push it to to the streaming platforms and to the festivals.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to rush it.
Yeah. Jessica, you worked again with George a couple times for a music video and a documentary. So I guess that
Really
you
good at what you
like
do.
the experience.
Repeat the question for me.
You worked with George again a couple times for a music video and for a documentary. So I guess you enjoyed his work and you wanted to come back to work with him.
Absolutely. I will always want to work with George. I love his work ethic. I love the quality of the production in general. I love that he wears a lot of hats on set, but he also knows where he wants other people to really invest to make something just look phenomenal, so he can work on other stuff, like directing actors, which is phenomenal and not always the case on an indie film set. So I will always want to keep working with George, and I hope we continue to for the rest of our lives.
That's big.
Yeah.
Do you want to comment on that, George?
That's very humbling. I appreciate that. I really do. And obviously the feeling is mutual. She's starring in my new film, Pulled from Darkness, as well, which we hope to begin shooting in November. So, yeah, she's just a phenomenal actor. I could see it actually before we shot Thy Neighbor, and she just keeps getting better and better and better. So it's really a pleasure to work with her.
A few words about that new film, Pulled from Darkness. What is it about?
This is the true story of a woman whose husband lost her in a night of gambling and sold her into trafficking. And so in the middle of the night, these thugs broke into their house, dragged her and her kids, the kids escaped, dragged her out, sold her into trafficking. And she lived in literally a concrete room that was pitch dark, no light, for 3 years. Laid on the floor. The bathroom was a rusty coffee can. There were other women in this room, and the only time they saw light was when the door opened and they'd get pulled out to be used, and then they'd get thrown back in. And the woman who went through this literally does not know what any of those women look like. She was in a cell with them for 3 years. She knows their voices, but she doesn't know what they look like. And after 3 years, she was in a coma for 3 years, so they had no use for her. So they just drove down the street and threw her out of a car into an alley. And she woke up in a hospital and couldn't talk for a little while. And then when she finally spoke, she told the nurse, "I have 3 kids. I need to find them." And so it's the story of her search to find these kids who are somewhere in the world. And it's just an incredibly inspirational, true story.
That sounds like a sweet story. Are you ready, Jessica, for that?
I am, and I'm also thankful for all the prep time I have. It's the things this woman went through are just absolutely heartbreaking, but her strength to get through it, not everybody could do that. So I admire her, and she's out there. So like the fact that like it's just different when you're playing someone who's out there.
Yeah, who's still there and who's gonna watch the movie at some point. And that must be kind of strange feeling, no?
Yeah, just she deserves the absolute best. The stuff she lived through and went through, like she deserves to just like, I mean, I just want to sit in those things and just go through like the smallest bit of what she did to do it justice.
When are you starting shooting?
Possibly November.
November? George, you're going to start shooting in November?
It is looking that way. We've actually already shot a couple of scenes, but it's a matter of securing the locations for the majority of it. And we think we have locked in on our locations. So we're working that out over the next week or so. And then, the hope is November.
Dave, you also have a project coming up, Through the Eyes of Grace, and COVID delayed the project. That's it?
Yes, we were thinking of shooting next month, October, but that's not going to happen. So now are aiming for next September, and it's called Through Eyes of Grace. And I started writing the story around the time I auditioned for the Thy Neighbor, and it has evolved. I'm writing the novel. Actually, I have the novel right here.
Okay.
And I hope I'm editing the novel right now, and I hope to be selling that on Amazon very soon, probably October, and then the sales from the novel will fund the movie. So
Okay, sounds like a plan.
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is it are you gonna direct?
I'm probably not going to direct. I might act, but I'm probably just going to walk around the set and cry, basically.
That's definitely. We'll see.
You're
We'll
a
see.
filmmaker
Let
now.
us know.
I'm a filmmaker now. So I've agreed to poverty. I probably will act. It's a faith-based thriller. It's about a pastor who begins to doubt his faith when his teenage daughter has disappeared. And it's a mystery, what has happened to the girl, but it's also a mystery, where is God when you need him the most? It's very similar to Neighbor. It's edgy. So I'm hoping it will be a success. We'll probably start casting in the spring, but there's a lot of characters. It's a quirky small town with a lot of interesting characters in the town. So, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
It sounds like it's going to be fun, and that's something that's going to be adding to your resume, and I hope it's going to help you.
Mhm.
I kept one question
thank
for
you.
the end. Kept one question for the end because it's kind of a spoiler. Okay, so if you didn't watch the movie already, just leave the live stream, and you're going to come back later after you watch the movie. There is one thing that I loved, and I was kind of proud because I kind of guessed it was going to happen in the movie. At some point, I noticed that they never call him by his name. They are always calling him, "Hey neighbor, hey neighbor," just like he's a thing in the landscape.
Yes.
And
yes.
at some point, I was saying to myself, if I was him, I would be mad because I have a fucking name. So, and in the end, during the incident you described in the church, your character Dave goes like, "Do you even know my name? Do you know my name? What's my name?" And that was like, yeah, please go for it. And that was like,
an hour and a half, and
I loved that scene. So, do you have any memory? Do you recall anything specific from that scene? Can you
great line.
share a little bit?
For Dave?
Yeah, that was the scene we shot in Gary, Indiana. That was for anyone.
No, for you, Dave. For you.
Yeah, that was pretty much that was our last main day of filming. That was Gary, Indiana. And then we had one more very small shot the next day. But that was a very memorable scene. We started like at 8 a.m. and we just went straight through to like 4 p.m. a little abandoned church in Gary, and it was an excellent experience. But yeah, shouting that, and that's another thing that drew me to the script is, when I first read it, I was like, what's this guy's name? Like I kept flipping through the pages and
you couldn't find
he came out with no name. Yeah. And I've mentioned this to George. I forget. I'll leave that. I'll let that go. But it's a very powerful line because you're supposed to be witnessing for Christ. The very first thing you do is you find out their name. In fact, funny story, 2 hours ago, I met my new neighbor, and our first conversation was, "Hi, my name is Dave, and my name is, whatever her name was." And first conversation, I learned her name. I've known her for 2 hours. But in whatever the neighbor world, I don't know how long that movie was. Maybe it was 2 weeks in real time, but they never found out his name because Zach didn't. He saw Neighbor as a project, not a human.
Project as a challenge, something you wanted to achieve, and not a human being. So that was interesting. How was it looking in the script, George? Was that specific line there from the beginning?
Oh yes, absolutely. That was intentional. And there are a few people like you that obviously love people and caught it. But so many people, you get caught up in the story, and a lot of people didn't notice it. And the idea is for when you hear him scream that is to go, holy smokes, what is his name? I've been watching this guy for 2 hours. I don't even know. I didn't realize I don't know what his name is. And I think it was kind of to shine a light on ourselves in some way and realize that we're all kind of capable of failing to see people as a human, you know, and it's not just this pastor, but we can all sometimes, whatever it is we're doing, you know, if it's at work and you're a boss and you have an employee or whatever, sometimes we get so focused on the task, on the job, that we forget to appreciate that human life that we're interacting with. And it was just kind of a moment to shine that light on that and say, hey, he's a person. Let's get to know this person.
Yeah. It's I loved it. I loved it. It was great. Do you have, guys, anything you want to add before we wrap up? Anything that we may have missed during the talk?
Well, I want to just say quickly, you are fantastic at what you do. This has been just a really fun interview. And also, we are just so excited to be a part of this festival. Yeah. Seriously, we've been a part of a lot of them. And this is just one of those really exciting ones for us. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part.
I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I guess we're done then. Everybody's happy. Everybody's got a compliment. So now it's time to I want to thank you guys for taking the time. It's very interesting for me to have people like you, cast and crew, to discuss the details of filmmaking, making a movie from different perspectives, from an actress, from an actor, from a director, to get to know how you felt on set, how you feel today of a film you shot 2 years ago, and you are still promoting the movie. I mean, all of this makes sense to me, at least. It really makes sense. And that's an involvement, that's a commitment. And I'm very happy we got to meet, even if it's digital this year. If we have the chance, next time we are on the Champs-Élysées, we're going to have you again for the next film. Who knows? Okay?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having
Thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day. And the movie screens tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. French time. The Sunday night in France are traditionally the movie night. This is the night every family goes sits in front of the TV and watch movies. So being on the Sunday night makes sense for an international film that we wanted to show the local audience. So this is 8:30 Los Angeles time. And once the movie is released tomorrow night, it's going to stay a week on the platform, so people can catch up with it if they want. So if you want to keep saying that, we would love for as many people as possible to watch the movie. Okay?
Great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to show a clip that's about the masterclass we are going to have tomorrow. It's a masterclass with the actor James Morrison. We had a sit down for more than 1 hour, and he discussed with me his acting career from the show 24 with Kiefer Sutherland to the show Revenge, to his documentary he made with his wife. He really had no boundaries, and he answered every single question we had. So we invite also people, let's say we all want you to spend the Sunday afternoon and a Sunday night at the Paris Art and Movie Awards, go to the masterclass with James Morrison, and then stay for Thy Neighbor. We're going to watch that clip, and then we're going to wrap up, okay? Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day.
Yep.
Okay,
call you. Tony Almeida. He gave me this whole CTU emergency phone code. Deep Sky.
It's Bill, Jack.
Bill, what the hell's going on?
Where is Tony?
FBI headquarters. He's been arrested.
Every scene is done from the top to the bottom. I mean, you just start over and do it from the top. You don't need that little pickup, because they wanted to shoot it like a play, so there would be this movement the real time
thing
aspect of it. The best way to capture it is to just make it
make it real time.
So they would shoot it from a distance, with long lenses, and then they would move in till finally, when they get really close, there's the handheld guy in the scene with you, outside the other locked off camera, in the scene with you. You're like, remember we were talking about being aware of each other's space.
Yeah, and the dancing.
You'd have to dance with this guy, Skinner was his name, and he was brilliant. He was a character in the scene with us that nobody else could see.
Yeah.
We would step around him and be talking and, maneuver, and peripherally you would see his eye. He would have his eye on the lens, but if you made a misstep, he would open that other eye. Like, that was your signal, like, what the hell are you doing?
All right, people, here we go. Let's do this. Kick back, relax, give us a call.
Breakfast is ready.
Kaylee, take my car. Turn back.
No, don't do that.
What do you want with me?
Damn that girl. Vous allez participer à ce rendez-vous.